Um, no recap for today's session. However, uh, everyone will receive inspiration as part of your downtime year.
Well,
Huzzah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
um, a bit of housekeeping. Firm, you are no longer experiencing any kind of like detrimental madness affecting your abilities or anything from the book, as that will go away shortly after being unattuned from it.
Nice.
You are not
Mhm.
permanently affected by that.
Would I have the ability to convince Firm to go through a magical ceremony that would restore his alignment? Obviously, Ember Prime cannot phrase it that way, but just to clear any lingering books or lingering effects of the book.
I remember this from last week. Are you asking me or?
I am asking you
Oh,
because
I thought you were
you are
asking Sean. I
Firmament's player.
apologize. I thought you were asking for clarification.
Well, I guess I'm asking both of you,
You
really.
are the homunculi which crouches in Firm's brain and tells him what to do.
Well, to not burst the bubble, Sean removed it. He removed the alignment change
Okey-dokey.
with the
Save
removal of the
25
book.
gold upper.
Sounds good. I will
Okay.
hold on to my material component.
Okay. Could have tricked him into marriage.
Oh my god.
I feel like
Coulda
that's a played myself moment. What are you talking about?
I just
Kujin
need to be a
Masters.
part of the ceremony real quick.
That is a 6 charisma bard move.
um, excellent. Um, there's much information about the world to share. However, I don't want any of those changes to affect anybody's downtime decisions or anything like that. So we'll do that at the end after everyone has um, let us know what has happened during their downtime. Um, if uh, if anybody is like knows what they're doing with their downtime and wants to start us off, that's great. Otherwise, I'll just go down the player list, which is alphabetical, which would start with you, Ted. I leave it to you all. Does anybody like want to start us off?
Oh, it starts with me because I'm under Amber instead
You're
of
under
Ember
yeah,
Prime.
you're under your
Got it.
first name, your government name.
Got by your dead name.
It's not a dead name. It's just not my
Fair enough.
adventuring name.
Your secret identity.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Ted was messaging me today, and he was writing EP in there, and I was like, "What episode is he talking about?" It took me a minute to figure out. I was like, "Oh, okay, I got it."
I
Okay.
guess I can start off my year is largely uneventful. Some time is spent in Bastion, accepting the fact that we have this period of non-adventuring for a little while. Does, in an effort to keep everybody safe, spend some time and a little bit of gold to create a bunch of versions of the metal box that the book is in, and does pass one out to everybody without telling anyone who has the actual book. And then after a few days going stir crazy in Bastion, is going to set back out for Maras. Has some things that she wants to get done there, including some work on rebuilding the bakery, but also getting getting some time in a forge back in. And if she's going to do that, she's going to do that at home.
Very good. Just because you brought it up, so there's a game of who has the book, but who does have the book?
I mean,
Oh
I guess if
man,
you know, you
do
just
I
gotta
just
tell
be-
Sean privately.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
want to, like, if you want to be the controller of that knowledge, then that is fine.
This is a fun mini game you've
uh,
made.
yeah, because I'm trying to decide if Ember Prime even wants to know, just in case.
The other way, if we want it to be
Hold on.
random,
Yeah,
then
I will GM. I will whisper roll you.
okay. I was gonna say the other way is I can just roll a d6, and I will know who has the book.
No, I got this. Hold on.
Double blinds.
One of the boxes will weigh more than the others. But
No,
we
'cause
only
I
know
will-
that if
I
we're
will-
holding them all.
I
What weight's enough?
No, that is definitely a thing Ember Prime will account for, and I will go buy empty books.
And
Fucking
I
smart
know,
as
I know,
hell.
I know. I was joking about this earlier, but if it makes life easier, like Durham is going to make it a point of anytime the group's together, like taking the opportunity to pick up a different package and leave his, just to randomize
just
whoever's
shuffle the
got
fuck
it.
out of 'em?
Yeah.
Sean,
It's
roll
our
every day.
It's our group ritual of every time one of us comes into contact with another one, we trade.
We swap us.
I'm sending you
That's our
the
secret
actual
handshake.
key is.
Our
Okay,
secret handshake is we
I
trade a
see the
box.
roll.
Yeah, I
don't-
sent you the key in Discord because I don't know how to whisper an actual like message to you.
Oh, okay.
In-
Slash
Oh,
in
WGM.
this. So I had that already typed out and copy pasted or in my
Is it a good one?
clipboard.
okay, very good. Now, do you know the result of this roll? Did you blind roll it to me?
No, I did not blind roll it to you, so I Ted know,
Okay.
and I think Ember Prime would know. I don't think that she's going to, just in case, like if one of us ever got attacked, she would want to know who has the actual book,
Yeah.
so that she can then contact them.
I will
She's-
say if
She does
that
have a
is-
high wisdom, so she does have some common sense on this.
Yeah. I will say if that is the case, if that is your desire, then do you allow Durham to swap books so you lose track of things, or do you want Durham to swap books so you do lose track of things?
Yeah. and just to
No,
be
I would
clear-
definitely not want to lose track of things.
Okay, then I won't be doing that. Then I will follow Ember Prime's wishes.
Okay. Cool. Just to know, that seems to be good information
Yeah,
to know
yeah, yeah.
if all this effort is being put into something. Cool. I forgot. I actually did have a few like general world things, which I'll just do very quick because they're actually just a few sentences. And the first one deals with Maras specifically. Maras is doing wonderfully, having shed the yoke of a despot from the far realms. The city is thriving. It's always done well, but it's doing much better now. The governmental ruling systems are running better. The Sinku is also having more contact with people. He's not kept away, hidden away. He walks the city and is much more in touch with his community now. Having secured access to Manolin, there are new praetors being recruited and trained. In addition, trade is up significantly as caravans are moving between Maras and Bastion. And some caravans are actually even heading towards Karakara occasionally. There is research being done on what remains of the carcass of the war slug. There was a carrion feast for months, and now there are just little bits and bobs that remain, some larger pieces of cartilage, and of course the portal that leads to another place. Both Maras and members of the Arcanium are working on just studying it and making sure it's not getting any worse or anything like that. Maras is doing very well indeed. Just to finish out this, Finland Aura is also doing seeing improvements. They're working to rediscover their lost past, but also trying to define a new future for themselves. They have not stepped significantly into the world stage here in Adari, but they do over the course of the year. Two envoys have made it to Bastion, and that's pretty good. Bastion itself is uh, thriving better than it ever has been. The construction has been completed on the new district in town for the refugees of Karakara, constructed by a variety of different vendors, but a large a significant amount of help from the quintuple C. Um, a wall throughout the year is also being constructed to complete the security of the city as well. And then again, trade and commerce returning to both Bastion and Maras as caravans travel the road once more.
Real fast, did you say there was 2 districts being built in Bastion?
No, just like in the Bastion map, city map, right? There's like a under construction zone, and that is now where the Karakar refugees, like a whole district, has been built to handle
Basically
all
where their
that.
camp
Okay,
was.
new district, not 2 new districts. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. A new district, yeah.
Thank you.
Though the map doesn't reflect that because the map is what it is. So,
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah. Cool. Very good. Okay. Ember Prime, you are heading back home.
Yeah, she will spend some time there, helping to rebuild the bakery if that hasn't been done by the time she gets there, but also spending some time in the forge and then just spending time in Maras.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you leave immediately, the bakery is not rebuilt yet. But I don't. Like, do you leave swiftly to Maras, or do you spend time in Bastion?
She spends a little bit of time in Bastion, probably a couple of weeks at most, to go through the process of building the books or the boxes for the books, and then doing some helpful stuff around Bastion. I'm not entirely positive she finds anything to truly like dedicate time to, as much as she just sort of putzes around Rainier's house and it helps out with regular, just kind of boring stuff here, before deciding that she needs to work. She's getting stir crazy, but she
Sure.
doesn't want to do that here.
Sure. Heading to Bastion or Maras about that time, you would see like the where the bakery had been burned down, like the area has been cleared. They're basically like in the planning stages of like the new bakery will be built, and since they're it's actually your family is ecstatic, obviously, that you've returned to spend some time. But they want your input whether or not they should put housing on the bakery, or just make the bakery larger. They don't know. Um, they don't know if they're allowed to just stay at the property that you all have been gifted, as it's not their place. It doesn't belong to your parents. So they ask you whether or not they need to, make a new home.
I don't imagine we're going to be here a lot of the time, so I don't think anyone will have an issue with you staying in one of the many wings of this place. Certainly more than the 2-room apartment we used to have. But if you want your own place, something to be said for having your house right above your place of business.
Your parents
Could
consider
feel
it for
bigger, you know.
your parents consider it for a moment, and they like a return, not to how it was, but to the old ways of that. But they like the idea of bigger, maybe more room to spread out a bit. Um, and so, over the course of the year, construction is worked on. Construction occurs on the bakery, and I'd say in like, hang on a sec. Um, in only like 3 months, the whole thing is like done, and the business is up and running again. A large portion of the city comes out to support uh, your parents' bakery and also to see you.
Yeah, there would definitely be a sort of grand opening celebration that everybody would be invited to. There would be sendings going out.
Wonderful. Does everybody make the trip for the grand opening to Maras at some point?
Fucking absolutely.
Yeah, I think it'll
Yes.
line up with my schedule.
I'll
Almost
drop what I'm
perfectly.
fucking doing.
Cool. Roughly about 3 months in, you all head up to Maras to enjoy the company of friends and acquaintances and hot scones and a variety of pastries. They've also started to make like little sandwiches there as well, not just pastries, starting to expand the menu a little bit. Your time at the forge goes well. Your You find your previous master, as you work with him now, is much more of a kind of partnership as you guys work on things together. Uh, it very much a feeling of being equal here. And to be honest, you show him a few techniques and thoughts and ideas about creating things that he hadn't even really considered before. Besides time in Morass, anything else Ember Prime gets up to?
Nope. The crafting will take well over half the year, so
Okay, and what are you crafting?
Durham and I are working on a staff, a magical staff.
Okay.
It will
If the
be.
major Go on.
I'll just say it will be a combination of um, wood from the forests north of Maras, but also lined and etched with runes that are filled with powdered gems taken from the mountain.
Cool. Very cool. um, given there is a fair amount of time put into the creation of that object, when would you start that?
Assuming he's available, probably shortly after the bakery opening, since Durham would presumably be in Maras.
Yeah, I think that lines up with exactly what I was thinking.
Okay. As I stated, if the two of you are working together on the staff, the time would be approximately 190 days worth of time. Durham, that would also mean you would want to you go there as quickly as possible if you want to make the most of your year of downtime as well. So for a few months, Durham, you find yourself basically in hometown territory.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Besides creation of the staff, anything else beyond that?
Oh yeah, I
Nothing in
think.
particular.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were finishing with me.
No, to be clear, I am asking Ember to make
Yeah,
sure that they
great.
get everything they want done.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. She will spend time helping run the business. She will be available if anyone needs anything.
Okay, very good, very good. Derm, due to the nature of some of your travels, I actually would like to have you probably go last, I think.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. But for your time in Morass, to button it up, after the requisite time and cost, a staff is created. Ember, why don't you tell us what has been made?
A staff of the woodlands for Durham.
Okay, and how about some highlights? What does this thing do? What makes it so special?
Oh boy, what doesn't it do?
It slices, it dices.
God damn it! It makes julienne fries. Essentially,
Great
with the
minds, Tim, great
combination
minds.
of with the combination of local wood and magical essence that provides a more direct connection to Durham, between Durham and Ildari itself, allowing him to channel some of its energy to speak with animals, speak with plants, or even awaken them to sentience.
A grand creation occurs in Morass. Wonderful. Okay. All right. Durham would be next, but we're gonna move on to Firmament. What does Firmament get up to during this year?
Ooh. I had this thought out, and then you asked me. Damn it. Okay. For the most part, he is gonna work on sort of rebuilding with Rainier if Rainier allows. The occasional like check-ins, trying not to overstep and such, and then in the midst of that, like trying to balance like how he feels and how he thinks he fits in currently. Uh, Trying to help out with the refugee camps, helping with the food accommodations, making sure like the kitchens are in order mainly. That's where he likes. Uh,
Yeah. A lot of people definitely want help with that kind of thing as it's a new place, they've been like, either been given food or scavenged for food.
mhm.
Your presence is very much welcome in that community.
And then okay, that's good. And then to like sort of leave some people's like relief, sort of give like an insight to who he is, how like he understands coming to a new place is not like as easy as it may seem for people, and try to give like a relationable story to them from what he's experienced without really spilling too much, not just being like, yo, I'm not from here. He doesn't want to like like just ruin people like that, not give them extra worries. Um, and then in like his off time, like after he helped with that and whatnot, he's gonna start working on creating, what was it called? I had the name. You're up here. On creating a cape of the Mountebank. Mountebank.
It's as good as I've ever heard it.
Yeah.
I think it's Montebank, but we all know what it is.
Something fancy.
Yeah.
Something fancy.
Once
Yeah.
again, removing names from D&D may actually be a boon.
So he's
I don't
gonna
think
work on that in
was
his off
actually a
time.
name. I think
I think it
Mountebank
is
is
a
a
thing.
term. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Fuck if I know what
The,
that is.
the Cape of Dimension Door.
A
It
person
is
who
basically.
deceives others, especially in order to trick them out of money. A
Mhm.
charlatan.
Oh,
A
person-
It's the cape of a
person who
fancy
sold
poof.
patent medicines in public places.
Yeah.
oh my
You,
god!
sir, are now a snake oil salesman.
I was gonna say Cape of the Snake Oil Salesman.
It
That
is
doesn't even fit what
especially
it
funny.
does.
It does kind of. If you think about it,
does,
it's like,
'cause
oh
it
shit, I
allows you
gotta
to-
get out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
You leave behind a cloud of-
Back.
You disappear in a cloud of smoke and appear in a cloud of smoke.
Okay,
You
fair.
literally smoke bomb and run.
Okay, fair enough. But yes, he is in his off time gonna make that, and then when he gets word of Ember Prime's grand reopening that he's invited to, instantly going,
Absolutely.
instantly going.
Incredible, incredible. Excellent.
Oh,
And,
and then sorry,
yeah,
wait,
go on.
maybe wait. And then his other objective, aside from helping like Zal, Ragnarok, Ember Prime, if they want any help with anything, Durham as well. Uh, building relationships with Durham, where and if able, uh, is going to pester Baracus about seeing what he can get from Baracus by like offering up his services and like help and such to be like, hey, you don't got to pay me anything. You just maybe a spell or two occasionally.
uh, the the offer of your services without pay. He asks you, you want to be an intern in the reclamation department.
Intern is such a strong word. Like I don't want to be on the books, okay? I just want to be here in case you want some help. Like I'll show up. Just let me know. You just don't have to pay me money.
Hmm. There's
Now,
always
spell.
research to be done, and of course, Fettle work could always use an extra pair of hands.
Mm-hmm. I could do that. I'm here for that.
Okay.
Can I get spells occasionally? We got time. Yeah, I got all this time right now. Like everything's vibes. It's chill.
They
So,
got all this time, yeah.
what's one spell
Um,
out of a whole year kind of concept to him?
um, the crafting of your cape does take some time.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a total of 200 work days.
Yes,
And then, of course, you all already have the cost, which you say you have subtracted already.
I have.
At the about most of the year is most of your days are spent toiling on that with occasional breaks here and there for it. I think I discussed even with Cody when he asked about it, but it makes sense that like you would be able to take a break and come back to this kind of thing. Wouldn't need necessarily constant effort of like every day back to back. Um, Time in the Arcanium, um, you actually learn quite a bit of well, you learn a lot from Fettle work, but so much of what he's doing seems instinctive, right? A lot of times you're unsure of like why he built it this way or made these connections in the way that he did, and a lot of times he just shrugs and he's like, "That's what it tells me to. That's like I just know that this is how it goes together." A lot of experimentation. There's a couple small explosions in the workshop, nothing too major. But Fedoruk is all very busy during this time.
Mm-hmm.
He actually is pretty stressed out and is working constantly to create several new kinds of golems that the city of Bastion has requested in an effort to speed the construction of the new city district. Several like builder golems were made, who their purpose was to help make the walls and larger structures of these buildings and carry and move the heavier items around. So anytime you're there, Fetterwork is very busy working on that stuff and loves to have the help. um, uh, at the end of this, uh, let's see. Do you have any besides cook's utensils? Do you have any other tool proficiencies?
Double check real quick. Herbalism kit.
Mm. Okay. Then do me a favor, just go ahead and roll a general arcana check for me.
For a second, I thought my sheet was broken. I was like, I don't have half of these. It was just scrolled down. Oh, no, no.
Oh.
I am using the one that you gave me.
Okay, sure.
That's even. Oh my!
God.
How? How?
It's
I
a 15 is quite
I
Wow.
it's
mean,
quite good.
that's
Sean, it's good, but I have a plus 11.
I know, I know. I know
Girl,
the
I hear
feeling.
you. Girl, I hear you.
I know. 15 is quite good. Excellent, cool. Um, yeah, you help out in you help out really well in the workshop. Being an arcanist, you see how a lot of the mechanical stuff you're kind of like learning, but it feels good to like, I mean, you like working with your hands, right?
Hmm.
Um, and but the part that you really help accelerate is like the rune bindings to this stuff, the things that are drawing energy from the weave to just power the golems themselves, and getting a feel of
Ooh.
like it is very intricate, this kind of work. Like it's almost like, to put in our terms, like almost like circuitry, how complicated these runes are and have to be placed in, because if you want this thing to be a complex golem to be able to understand multiple commands, then it needs to be as complex as possible. Excellent, very good. At the end of your year of helping, they you are offered single third level spell of your choice.
Yes.
And
I'll
you
go
can
do.
let me know that. You can let me know what that is whenever. Anything else for firm's downtime?
That was about it. That was the main things, and then just double checking in with the group whenever they are free or like around during this time.
Okay, cool. Um, Having spent time with, making a concerted effort to improve your relationship with people after the tense time with the Book of Shadows,
Hmm.
how does Firm feel about everything?
He got over the pettiness. Like, yes, he understood that it was wrong. He just didn't like he felt like it was a more so untrusted on him rather than uh towards the book in the moment, and he didn't really know how to, what's the word? Also, Sean, I want to take water breathing. He didn't really know he didn't really know how to like convey or to fully grasp like everybody's sentiment towards it. He just more so felt that it was him that was being targeted and not necessarily the book. Like he understood it was evil, but he thought he was making a good compromise and such.
Hmm. Okay.
Being like all that, and then over the years, over the year, he you know, like in the first like 2 weeks, he got over that. But and he just wanted to like work on the fact that like he may from his point of view, it seemed like some people may still be on edge about like how he may view things and whatnot. So he just made a conscious effort to like work on that.
Okay. Very good. I'll say, for the course of the year, for the first few weeks after breaking your connection to the book, you still uh sometimes you dream about it, right? And it's not like about the book, but it's like, these dreams when you wake up, slightly sweating, short of breath, like you've been dreaming about it. But those fade in a few weeks, and for the rest of the year, you don't have any other connections or anything else, weird that happens and connected to the book at all. But you do gain the knowledge that like you had touched an object of significance.
Hmm.
Okay. Excellent. Ragnarok. What does Ragnarok get up to this whole time?
Um, so a good portion of when he's not in Moraz for the bakery opening or potentially what Durham may be planning, he's gonna go with the Slayers Guild or whatever they're called.
Sure.
Um, and he's going to try to increase his renown with them. Um, he's going to take low level kind of things just to make sure that young adventurers make it back to the place make it back home. Um, and with his winnings, he's going to donate it to the Quintuple C. So you don't have to like give me money necessarily. I have plenty. Um, but yeah, a big portion of it is specifically um, with the Slayers.
Okay, excellent.
I don't know if you wanted me to roll for that or just say,
Um,
hey, since I took low level things, I did good.
well, I mean, I think Ragnarok is going to do good no matter what.
Mm.
But yeah, let's do a couple rolls for it. Do me make just 2 attack rolls. You can make them at advantage. And then give me a athletics, which you can also roll at advantage.
There we go. Hey,
Hey, huge. Still very good.
so really good.
Okay, incredible. Um, yeah, I mean the lower level stuff is it's pretty easy for you. It's pretty breezy. There are a few moments where things get occasionally a little dicey, but for the most part, this is kind of a walk in the park for you. Um, but you're able to help the other like kind of up and coming Slayer groups that could really use the advice here. They learn quite a bit, and you're able to teach them how to better survive these kind of encounters where danger's involved. Also, better to be better at just like finding their quarry. Um, uh, I mean, you were already known in the Slayer stronghold, but uh, you like your status is definitely increased, right? Like, um, they refer to you as God. What is it? What is the? What is the name? I just want to make sure I'm pronouncing it right. Yeah, they refer to you as the Myrmidon, which is like an honorary ranking of people that like because you didn't want to be like a full-fledged part in this guild, right?
Mm, I actually think I do.
Okay. Excellent. Then you will carry the title as Myrmidon as your rank within the guild, which would be you've put in quite a bit of work, and if you're spending a year doing this, um, at least, I mean, you're at least second or third rank at this. I think at one point I had written down some rankings for them, but I don't know where they are at the moment. Um, but um, excellent. Yeah, you are as a member of the Slayer Stronghold. Obviously, you have access to stay there anytime you like. There is, like private, like a private bar and like not a restaurant, but like you can kind of have like your own meal and food and everything there for the members of it. And you also get like first crack at any of the jobs that are posting. Guild members get to uh, um, your own special VW. Yeah, kinda, kinda, yeah. And yeah, you get first crack at like jobs coming in for that sort of thing. Excellent, cool. If I when I'll have a look around to see if I can find where any of this like guild information was, and I will get that to you between sessions.
Tight. Uh,
Excellent.
yeah, the other thing he's gonna do when he's not with the Slayer Stronghold is training at the Arcanium, where he was pretty much raised to learn how to fight in the first place. But then he's gonna get kind of um, annoyed that he's not increasing in power, and mechanically that means strength. He seems to have met his physical peak. So he knows another way to be powerful is through magic. And so he'll ask Baracus to kind of train him in that. but seeing as how he doesn't have an affinity for magic like Genevieve did, and knowing that uh, one of the other ways to magic is through religion, he will start looking at different religious deities to get magic through.
Nice.
Okay, excellent. I believe you had messaged me a little bit about that. Is that still your plan?
Yeah, and we can like hand wave it, but like obviously start at the Temple of Lathander and just feel like it isn't enough, and then start looking for other places, and eventually land at a Temple of Tyr and realize that his devotees and their what's the word I'm looking for? Um, tenants. We'll go with that. I can't think of the word I was actually trying to think of. Tenants align more with his, and so he will now become a worshiper of Tyr.
Okay, very good. um, aside from the major dominant religions in Adari, there still are smaller temples scattered about. There's not every deity is represented, but some of them have small temples, and yeah, the small temple of Tyr welcomes you with open arms. They're very curious just about you. They know the rumors of Ragnarok and the five seasons as it is. And after kind of like, their initial excitement and curiosity wears off, they begin just, treating you like any other of their rank, like a brother.
Is there like a wing or something I can wear to show that I follow Tyr?
Well, some wear rings, some have amulets, some choose brooches or pins. What would you prefer?
I think I'd like a wing. That way, when I hit people, it hurts that much harder.
Oh my gosh.
You're probably gonna need something custom made and not just ornamental.
I like that.
Okay. And do you, the player, do you know the symbol of Tyr?
I could look it up again, but
Okay, I will tell you. I will tell you. I have just looked it up to make sure that I knew what it
okay.
was. Cool. It seems to be a balanced scales resting on top of Warhammer.
Nice.
Yeah. Fairly intricate design, but a nice flat, round, like a flattened top ring, is easily created for you. Um, yeah, it's not obviously not going to do any more damage, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
it sometimes leaves the mark on people. I think it sometimes will leave a mark on people.
I like that. It's funny because I don't typically punch, so
Right, right, yeah.
but I might in the future, just like killing blow.
To the forehead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, amazing, amazing. Anything else for your time here?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay, incredible. That brings us to Rainier.
Yeah. Um. So I think to address any of Firm's concerns, like after a couple of weeks of giving him the space he kind of needs to demonstrate that he's trustworthy again. Like Rainier at no point continues to bristle at him at all. Like is demonstrating that he believes everybody deserves a second chance, and especially because you are like working locally where Rainier will be, like he will watch and keep an eye out and and will take the time to like in the evenings occasionally like have dinner with Firm and kind of talk with him if he'll talk, um, about like why these things are dangerous, why they're scary, and why they are like why magical items and cults and evil gods are so beguiling, and are powerful forces in the world, that are used to that take advantage of people. Um, and uh, and like during the days when he's not like trying to unwind, he is laboriously helping the people of Bastion, and then doing what he said he would, and uh, effectively taking some of the reins on some of the training for the uh, uh, Brothers of the Brilliant Sun, I think is what they were.
I think it's
The Brotherhood of the
it should be. I believe it's glorious.
Glorious Sun, yes. And telling them to kind of put their money where their mouth is and take them southward towards towards the bog, towards wastelands, to places where people used to live and have had to abandon, and um, show them what it means to be paladins of light, um, and create places for people to live that don't have to be um, in Bastion. Some people don't want to live in a big city, and they should get to have the protection of good people to keep them safe. Cody mentioned it, and I think it's a good idea, to potentially ask Merv's assistance in this, mostly for navigational purposes.
Oh, I
But
know all the back shit nowheres that got fucking slagged out by some bad magic and nobody goes back there.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
um,
you know about the bad undead hollers.
yeah. I only know like one area of it, and I only know it from like a month-long campaign, which 50 years ago. So
We got maps about holes that you just fall in and you can hear the screaming for years.
and in I think he can only devote so much time to this because eventually his more natural inclination to help little folks still like pricks at him, and he kind of turns back to the vagrant that he was when he first met everybody a little bit, and does a lot of effectively running the old road, and the regions thereabout, trying to occasionally bumping into like Slayers Guild contracts, but is doing his order's job, um, which does mean that he does get to spend some time with everybody, like as the year passes, and every time he is seen, um, he's visibly a little bit different. Like we've all been in close quarters for so long, for like a month or so, but with a couple of weeks or maybe months between seeing him, like he gets more gray hairs, um, but some of his wrinkles fade. Some of the scars that shouldn't be scars yet have turned to scars. Um, there's a weird like forwards and backwards visible aging in him every single time. Um, uh, and Let me think. Um, Whenever he gets the chance to be in towns and like sit down and have a meal with one of his friends, he like really takes advantage of the time, like getting to know Durham pretty well and kind of have a good and long comfortable conversations with him, and um, listening to Zal kind of repeat some of the chronicling that he's done so far, um, talking to Firm about what it is he's developing, and of course, and I think mostly with Ember Prime, just listening to her. um, but he really but for all the like downtime that he takes in small periods, he really takes his time in there. But all of his like working hours, he is working hard and kind of enjoying the being alone aspect of it. Altogether, still very excited, like prepared and happy to come back in, but falling back into old habits, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, your time with the Glorious Sun, you find that I mean, the at first, people are like, "Well, that's a bit unorthodox," but you are a member of the fifth season and a ranking member of the church, and um, any kind of squabbles about whether you should or shouldn't are put to rest, and the newer trainees and the lower level members are actually excited to work with you. But you do discover that though we don't show it in the campaign, the paladins are out there doing stuff just like the city
Hmm.
watch and the militia are. People are doing things out in the world. It's just a very, very big place. um and you just tend to be, involved in the crux of things a lot of the time. Um,
I think also while I am with them, I am seeding to all of these new recruits and like people obviously significantly younger than I am, and many of the other people as we are like helping establish these smaller like colony cities. Um, the warning signs of things that will get you, like what tricks hags will play, um like what demonology exists, and why it's dangerous, and it's always kind of in the casual, like while he is placing bricks in fallen masonry, he's just telling stories of things that he's seen, and or like kind of the oral tradition of the order reviewing tales from slayers who have fallen just constantly.
um, let me see here. Um, could you? Boy, it's really kind of a whole bunch of stuff.
I know.
Yeah, I'm like, what kind of good role would be, for this? I'll give you a couple choices, but I think really you can determine like what you'd like to roll for this. Is basically like your influence on these people, right? Like you
Hmm.
you you will influence them. It's just that like how strong of a degree, is it, right? It's not a failure state sort of thing.
Hmm.
I mean, this could be history. It could be persuasion. It could be religion. And I mean, you can make an argument for anything else as well.
Yeah. I think that I'm gonna incline it towards religion, because even though this is deeply like impassioned and kind of built into his like personality and like leadership charisma, this is him trying to instill caution and security and safety that does come from a very like um uh, yeah, I think that's right.
Hell yeah, yeah. This is your jam. You will have advantage on the roll.
Oh, sweet. Oh, everyone saw that, right?
Oh, so we're all doing bad. Got it.
Nope.
Okay, I say all. You are doing bad. Got it.
Some of us are doing great.
Yeah, I had to go back to your roles real
Or
quick. You're
normal.
doing
Yeah, some of us never
Yeah,
miss.
this bodes ill. This bodes really ill.
Excellent, excellent. You find one of the newer recruits comes up to you and asks how they can do what you do,
Oh
and if
shit.
that's still possible.
Um, I should ask you, Sean. Is it possible to bring new people into this guild still?
um, it is. They will. it is possible to still bring a new member in. It's a very like it hasn't been done for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
as
think
far
you and I
as
had talked about there's only maybe 3 that are younger than me in the world.
yeah, yeah, and like young, like quote unquote younger, right? Um,
Right.
so yeah, it is still possible. Whether or not there is juice left to give them is a different matter. I believe that you had left one dose of Lathander's Light in Maras, if I'm not mistaken. I
I think
believe,
that sounds right because when Kurt was there, I did a blood transfusion.
yeah, I believe you were offered it and you said no, save it for another. Um, so there is a way for someone to be made into your order.
I think this would be like a pretty significant um I think that like the request would kind of turn him on his heel a little bit because he's never actually been approached with that. He remembers being that guy but never being in the shoes of someone receiving that request. Um and I think it takes him a little bit of time to consider it, but then he does bring this person back to Bastion for, of course, conversations with like the Archbishop. Um, eh, um, and if this kid is deemed as fit, if this is the appropriate action, I'm assuming through like divination magic and this kid's obvious like if this kid actually has it in him, I would help him with his pilgrimage to Maras to undergo the rite.
Okay.
I'm saying
It's
him. Who knows?
yeah, who knows? Yeah. Um, it's it is a difficult choice because it changes you, right? Many of the other memberships the church and other religions offer don't necessarily they don't really change they don't really change what you are, right? There's a different kind of bargain that is made, and this changes you forever in a very significant way. And uh, they take a few days to decide on that. They meet all the normal qualifications. They seem apt for it, um, but in the end, they choose to give themselves to something more, and to leave their. You know, it's not exactly leaving your old life behind, but you know what it's like. It, it you are a new person after it's done. Um, Excellent, cool. You go to Maras. The ceremony is had. Uh, one of the last known doses of Lathander's light, and the minuscule essence of his blood that gives power, is given to this young paladin, and he is joined into your order now.
I think I take that kid along with me for some of that like scrap work that I mentioned for like a while. So eventually, I guess the rest of the party will eventually meet this person incidentally, but probably by the year's end, I feel confident in that person's ability to not die
Yeah.
out in
You
the
bring us
wild.
a little baby mutant to
I
say
do.
hi to? Aw. The vein's still glowing sometimes. It's all weird.
And there is something that like he's in general a fairly humble person, but introducing this person like there's no hiding the like pride instilled in this person. Like someone has been inspired and someone has taken on this mantle. Like he can't hide that.
You guys play catch by shooting crossbows in the yard. Gotta teach him how to do it like Dad does.
This kid doesn't get my crossbow. This kid's
I
got to
know,
figure
yeah,
out
he
their
doesn't
own
get to
thing.
touch that. He doesn't get to You start him off with a hand crossbow. It's he can't handle stick shift.
Incredible. Okay. All right. This person. Okay.
You get one shot at the name.
Look, I got one. Okay. I rolled a few and I got one that wasn't gobbledygook.
Like Gembert.
Yeah,
Look,
hey,
Gembert's pretty
Gembert's
good.
good. Gembert's
Yeah, Gembert's great.
Gembert's pretty good, actually.
Squire number 1, the yard squire.
Okay. Their last name's a little. The last name's a
Last name got away from you.
Yeah, the last name's a little. Yikes. Okay. This is fine. Okay.
It's
Uh,
Malalunax Meftinthilar.
Yeah.
Just Cal wearing a mustache.
He's got a mustache and different colored glasses.
Has it been you the whole damn time? Cool.
That'd be a hell of a come around.
New recruit. I'm just writing this down in my notebook. Cool. Okay. Their name is Ilaria Oldak.
Not bad.
We'll put it into
Well, so.
the chat. Ilaria.
It's got pretty good fantasy pro tag potential name.
Ilaria
yeah.
Oldak.
She's who I'll
they
play
are-
if Rainier died.
Yeah, they are female dragonborn.
Holy shit.
Hell yeah.
6'2".
Jesus Christ.
6'2", okay.
I think that makes her tall. That almost certainly makes her taller than me.
Yeah, they're competitive.
I know another
they-
dragonborn who's 6'2".
They're very competitive. They can't keep secrets. They only talk loudly, and they're quite obstinate.
Oh.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
That's quite.
And this is before the god blood.
Yeah, before the console.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. You find in your travels, and as you said, like doing what it is that you do, which is basically tracking down leads on like dangerous entities out here, right? Traveling to a town if people need help them. Otherwise, move on. You're not always tracking something, but on the move frequently. Throughout the year, you definitely notice an uptick in like undead sightings. Most of it is like I say mundane, but in the sense of like zombies, skeletons, some ghosts, right? There's not a lot of big spooks, but occasionally some nasty creatures are seen along the way. But yeah, you definitely notice the increase in that sort of thing as you go around Adari in your travels here.
Cool.
Okay.
Normal and fine.
Very, very normal.
Expected given the situation.
Yes, quite expected. Anything else from Rainier?
Nope. Spend a good amount of time just on the road and just hit the big cities every quarter.
Okay, very good. That brings us to Zaul.
Yeah. The first thing will be Zal approaching Rainier for money.
Given without question.
The second thing will be handing the bag of beans to Durham.
Ooh, lovely.
Do not. I'll give you a pamphlet about it. Until then, don't do anything with the beans in the bag. Probably never do anything with the beans in the bag, but
Intriguing.
Again, I'll work on giving you a pamphlet at some point. I think Zal announces his intention to uh he only ever says it in the like archmage voice, but to undertake a working, and then goes to a shanty down by the docks just to see who is currently living in there and politely ask them to leave.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Who is living in? You're talking about your house, just to be clear,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Let's see who's living in your house. Okay.
Gambert.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you... Okay. Um. Okay. It looks like it's just two dudes, right? They're just friends, bros. They've been like squatting in your place. The door was open.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there were keys like under the mat.
Yeah, I approach, knock on the front door when I see that it's locked and the key isn't under the mat.
Yeah, they answer the door. They tell you like, "Hey, we've been living here for a few weeks."
All right, I'm gonna need the space for a bit. You can maybe move back in later. I do own the place. Name's Almach.
I was gonna tell you to go talk to the owner about it, but
Right. Uh-huh.
yeah. Hey, how do I know you're the owner?
I walk over and pry up a floorboard that I don't that I don't know if they found yet. That I put like a little bit. I specifically like put a floorboard with a little bit of gold in it in case like anybody found it.
They have not found that.
Yeah, I go over and pry open, like immediately walk over, tap on it with my foot, pry it open, and point to the gold bag.
There's gold there this whole time?
Yeah, it's yours. Go ahead.
Oh, then you can have the place.
Right, just come back later. This is my place. It's okay that you stayed here. It's no fault on you. Just please go now.
Mm. Cool. They take the money and get out of there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he like starts to paper over the front windows to make a little bit of like dark and also to kind of like dampen some of the sound.
Not weird at all.
No, it's a very weird vibe considering he's just on the docks, like on a thoroughfare. Just moved in and started covering up the windows. But yeah, he is going to spend like 8 hours a day during the day, like working on his vial and trying to basically layer magic onto it. He's constantly like talking to it and singing to it and telling it the story of him. And then every night he is using his All Eyes on Me feature to just spend like 8 hours bouncing from bar to bar or staying in one bar if he gets an audience, just playing it for people. Goes to sleep, wakes up, does it all again for about 90 days. I think then when it's made clear that like that's around when the Fireforge Bakery thing is happening, he pauses his work to move to Maras. And then does more or less the same thing, except he does it from one of the rooms in the mansion that we've got like squared away.
Okay.
But yeah, mostly it is when he's in Bastion, almost all of the performances don't have one of his mask personas on. Like he's not putting on an affectation other than himself. When he goes to Maras, he starts to play in the persona of each of them. So like the Lord is like more of like a concert like kind of musician, and the Archmage is very aggressive and violent and like does a lot of like screes. And then the Fool is very like, I guess, just Lindsey Sterling coded. A lot of dancing on his spindly metal legs.
You find like your time in Bastion, the first few nights people like you're not recognized immediately.
Mhm.
And then people realize like, oh shit, it's fucking Zal from the fifth season. He's just like playing bars. And I mean these shows I mean they're no one well people do start selling tickets
At
actually.
points, he
It's-
is just doing street sides, right? Like when he
Yeah.
realizes too many people are starting to like, it's making it so that nobody can see, or he's filled up the occupancy. He does like move out onto street corners.
Yeah, come
It sounds a
some-
little bit like the 2 decades or so where before every Rolling Stones tour, they'd like do some practice gigs, but they'd all be at like just local bars at wherever they were, and they'd advertise as the Glimmer Twins. Right? And so people would like show up. Like, oh, we're going to the bar. We're going to hear some live music or whatever, and be like, wait, that's Mick Jagger.
Yeah, I think it's a lot like that. People
Yeah.
are put out some nice busking days are done. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, there's just nights where it's like, the candlelight in the tavern, you on stage, you could hear a pin drop, right? People are just hanging on every note and word, right?
And I think Zal like conspicuously just does not talk to anybody during the days because he's spending all day like pumping all of his spell slots into this fucking thing to try to get it to take. Like he's not a fucking arcanist. He's
Yeah.
just trying to vibe it out. And then like constantly having people send like invitations to bigger shows that he becomes aware of. Although pretty clearly after like a couple weeks, he doesn't do prearranged shows anymore. He just shows up places. Like when he realizes there's a cottage industry forming around it, he's like, just drop in on places.
It sounds a bit like in Miraz, things are a little bit more experimental with the music.
Oh yeah, when he gets to Miraz, then he like his first couple in Bastion before people notice are probably kind of shitty because he's not putting on like the version of it he did with which is like one of the personas. In Miraz, it gets weird because he does start to play the one instrument, but in very different styles from night to night. So like people are like, wait, is that same fucking guy? Why is he stooped the fuck over? Why is he bouncing and running along the roof now?
Yeah, there's great debate over whether your new stuff is any good. Some people, they're like, he's a has-been.
Yeah,
at
what's
hat."
worse is the Miraz people would actually know of me more than the Bastion people
Yeah.
would like prior to 5th season. Some of them might be like, oh, it's fucking Zal. Wow, his legs are fucked up.
Yeah, other people are like, you just don't get it. Or you have to expand your mind. You have to meet him where he's at. Very, very, very cool.
Do my check, and we'll see.
What I'd like you to do for the creation of your item is I know we talked about doing an Arcana check, but can you do a charisma-based Arcana check for me?
Okay. So, yeah, it'll
Us.
be
Yeah, it'll be your charisma modifier, and then whatever your proficiencies are.
so it'd be plus 2 plus 5, so plus 7.
Okay.
I'll use an inspiration.
Okay, I will allow it.
I got a few to burn on this. Big money, no whammies. Oh. Okay, another one.
Yes.
I only got one more after this. God
14's
damn.
fine. 14's good.
Look, I'm going for it one more time. No more inspiration. This is it. All of my hoarded
I won't bite you.
accumulation.
There it is.
Hey,
There it is!
Holy!
Hey,
Holy!
Cody, I fucking called that, okay?
Yeah, but it doesn't count if it takes all of the inspiration I've generated for fucking ever. For every good
Incorrect.
thing I've ever done in this game.
Holy
Okay.
Okay. We had talked about the potential of your creation it to be gain more than what it was. I told you the DC was high, but I didn't tell you what the DC was going to be.
Yeah.
And a nat 20 will certainly meet the DC for it. So your creation of your magic item, your modification of your current magic item, you're adding some spell storage capability.
Mhm.
It would have normally come out with being able to store one third level spell or up to third level, and it will come out with up to fourth level.
Okay. Cool.
Incredible.
I think visually, like the breakthrough when it actually starts to do some like to look different is the vial starts to have like flowing as much as goblin script can flowing goblin script like all around it that starts to kind of glow whenever he plays it. I think the strings begin to like they also sort of glow whenever magic is like whenever a spell is stored in it as kind of the indicator.
Cool.
But yeah, I think it is covered in like mixtures of goblin and sylvan script, all of which are just his favorite story, which is the violin's going to be called the Bandit Lord's Blessing. And anybody who can read Goblin or Sylvan will see that it's just a story about a bandit king and a bandit queen who got together and had a kid, and then eventually, for love of that kid, left being bandits to go make sure the kid could like. It was basically Zal's favorite story when he was a camp brat, and it wasn't until he was an adult that it properly like contextualized itself. So yeah, that is just written because it is the story he told, his story more specifically, that he just layered into it every day for 180 days, like talking to the violin as if it was a person.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Uh, when the magic takes, the next performance you make is like a landmark performance, right? Like it goes down in legend in Maras of anybody who was there, right? People tell stories of like I was there when we like, no, you weren't. I was there. It was s- your performance is another story that will be told for a long time to come.
And I think that performance is where that performance specifically is I give the first ever actual performance of in song of the Bandit Lord or I think he calls the song the Bandit Lord's Blessing. Lords being plural, obviously, which is the song version of his story.
Very cool.
Are we
And then
invited, or are we just lucky if we show up?
I think it is like wherever you're at 100 and about 90 days, because that is when he would finish. That is when it would be complete. And I don't think it would be a pre-approved performance or anything. He would just stumble out kind of exhausted from the ludicrous regiment he's been keeping himself to and just play the shit out of that one performance. I think he'd definitely probably do it near Fireforge Bakery just because that's kind of one of his favorite places to just play in front of because you get baked goods, which which helps.
Yeah, yeah. It also brings customers to your friend's business. Do you just perform the one song and that's it?
Yep.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah, it's the one song and it happens to be for whoever is like present and just happens to be there for that one like I think Ember and maybe Durham are present. I don't know. Either way, whoever happens to be at the bakery at 190 days will
Yeah.
be present for it.
Hell yeah.
With
A
the rest of my
very
downtime, I'm definitely hanging out with Durham because I know what Durham's plans are, and Zal is incredibly interested.
uh, a landmark performance for a very lucky few. Incredible. uh, Okay. That does bring us to Durham to round things out. What is Durham getting up to in this time?
I'll just sort of run through everything, and I think in terms of the amount of time, it all works out. But in terms of what the sequence of that time is, I it can all get jumbled to whatever makes the most sense. I have some ideas, but it's not entirely clear to me. So, um, I think initially, his time is spent uh, in Bastion, primarily with Rainier and Firm. With Rainier, it's probably um, some long walks discussing various aspects of divinity. Depending on how it works out, they might include in this conversation um, the new Dragonborn recruit. Um,
Hell
with
yeah.
Yeah, I think that sort of makes sense. Um, with Firm, Durham is very interested in the cooking, and particularly, the ability to turn these monstrous creatures into something nourishing. Um, he will. He didn't understand initially, but Firm explains to him that a lot of the cooking isn't actually cooking, but it is in fact magic. Which Durham does understand. He just didn't get the concept initially. There is some cooking, obviously, that's going on, and Durham offers to go out and do some hunting on Firm's behalf to get him the freshest ingredients to um, make his meals, and as such, Durham will continue to do some prep work and some sous chef work for Firm. In addition, during the course of this downtime, Durham's going to spend a little bit of time, and it is in fact a little bit of time, making some spell scrolls. And among those spell scrolls are a spell scroll of Ice Knife and a spell scroll
Ooh.
of Earth Tremor that he will present to Firm as a gift.
Ooh.
Um, and just making the comment about how it's important to learn how to use the elements to help protect you. Um, Durham will spend a significant amount of time with in Maras with Ember Prime, assisting with uh, the construction of the Staff of the Woodlands. Upon its completion, and with Ember's, if Ember Ember Prime gives her blessing, um, Durham will begin referring to the staff as EPACS, EPACS, which just stands for Ember Prime's Attitude Correcting Stick.
Oh my god.
That's what he has dubbed it, unless Ember Prime, for whatever reason, does not appreciate that name, in which case he will come up with something else. I imagine either before Maras or perhaps at the end of this downtime, Durham will go out for a camping trip just outside of Karakara to do a little research and reconnaissance about what in fact is going on in Karakara. And although he is certainly interested in what is going on with the people that have remained there, he is of the two, he's probably more focused on what has changed in nature around Karakara. There's been a significant cataclysmic event um, involving a significant amount of magic, and he will call on his very brief training as an Arcana cleric and his very significant training as a druid to try and figure out how that has affected the ecosystem around here. The remainder of the time, which I have sort of pegged at roughly a third of a year, he will spend back at home with the Three Sisters tribe, and specifically with his clan Viridus, and his wife Ferox and his son Orim. And as Zal has alluded to, everyone is invited if they so choose to spend some time up there. If they leave Maras with Durham, then obviously Durham will lead them to the tribe. If they want to show up at a later date, the instructions will simply be walk north, we'll find you.
Very good. Very good indeed. Your wife and son welcome you home. Both wish to hear stories of where you've been, what you've seen, what you've done.
And to that end, I know specifically with Zal, among the reasons that I have invited him is being a nomadic tribe. Our much of our history is passed down through stories, and Zal being an expert storyteller, the best that Durham knows by far. He has invited him to both hear the tribe stories, but also, work with our storytellers to try and give them some new insights. In addition, if it works out time wise, Ragnarok and I spoke a little bit. I know, particularly the druids in the tribe are very interested in Ragnarok because of his ability to take this sort of hybrid form. And they, many in the tribe, look at him as a gift from the Three Sisters. We were joking about it a little earlier today, but I actually really like the idea of it. I was joking that my son Orim likes any hide and seek game that lasts longer than 2 weeks, right? And I like the idea that Ragnarok immediately is like, "Oh, I'll hunt you," and they're just gone for like a month.
Very cool. Very cool.
I will definitely throw myself wholeheartedly into like learning the style of storytelling, like what is the actual oral tradition, the format, right?
Mhm.
And then adapting all of my stuff to that format. Like that's the fun of the challenge.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, no, they have their own structure to this. You don't impose your own, work with their thing.
Yeah. And also just visually for those that do make the journey, a lot of yurts. That's the shelter of choice. Lean-tos go up initially when they move, since they're the quickest thing to put up, and then yurts. And for those that stay long enough, you probably get to witness at least one, maybe two relocations. We don't tend to stay in a spot for, anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months. So there's probably one camp breakdown and set up to be witnessed by those that are there long enough.
Dipping slightly in, actually. I think at some point Zal would ask just Durham to accompany him through the woods for like a couple days.
Yeah, certainly.
To try to locate the place that he lived, the place where the camp once was. I think he
Oh,
probably gets close enough. Like there's
okay.
just
Yeah.
an area where like it's clear that like possibly your people have like started to put it back together a little bit
Mhm.
after it was, slashed and burned in an area.
Yeah, I got you. Well, look, I mean, I don't know that Durham is the best person for that job, but he's certainly on the top 5 list. Right.
Yeah, I don't think it's a journey of much speaking as much as Zal's
Mhm,
just like, yeah, I'm looking for a settlement I lived at
mhm.
when I was little.
Cool. Yeah, Durham will certainly assist in trying to locate that.
Wonderful. Do you think you find it?
Um, Genuinely, no. I think I find something that was probably close. Like I
Mm,
find an area that I'm like, oh, I remember standing here, but I don't think I actually find the clearing, right?
mm,
Because they've moved a long time ago and the forest has regrown and none of it
Yeah.
looks the same. I find
Yeah.
like one tree that I'm like, oh fuck, I know this tree. I must be nearby. But I don't find like, a camp or any of
Right.
that stuff.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, I think what Durham's able to say and do for you is be like, "Oh, here are 3 locations where people were settled at one
yeah.
point." Right? And but in terms of which one was yours or were any of these yours, like too much time has passed and there's not enough information to really isolate that.
During that little bit of travel, Zal would absolutely be just asking Durham for like Durham's whole life story. Durham is still the most unknown quantity of us and has lived a very different life than any of the rest of us.
Yeah, Durham will share that with very little prodding, but the story's pretty simple. He has lived in these woods for his whole life. He's, has both a general and relatively simple connection to the weave, but a much greater connection to um, nature and the gods that uh, oversee it. And he worships them and hopes that his acts please them, and as such will bring um, good fortune to him and his tribe.
Cool.
I love that.
He will also ask how your wife became
Well, that is simple. You pick the one best suited for leadership, most intelligent, wisest individual possible. The only question was when she was appointed, was she too young to take on the responsibility? Answer was no.
and how old was she?
17. That was almost 20 years ago.
And how long have you two been?
Uh, Almost the same amount of time.
I was going to ask, I guess in either case you went out of your league.
Oh, certainly. But I am not without my charms.
He does a very like gruff laugh and pats you on the leg.
I think some dust comes up.
I have been meaning to ask about the preponderance of
Hmm.
pollen. Is it pollen?
Sure.
It makes
Let's
me
think of it
sneeze
as
like
pollen.
pollen.
As I understand, some apothecaries offer some ointments and whatnot that might assist in that regard. I know in Maras there is an individual that sells some tack that you'd rub on your chest. Helps work. I believe his name is Zai. It's Zai's tack.
Honestly, like when I was younger, my parents were of the mind that if you had that problem, just stick your nose in more of it
Mm.
until it isn't a problem anymore.
Yes, I think that frequently that will resolve the issue. You will either build up a tolerance or it will kill you. Either way, you won't be sneezing anymore.
Zal's last sneeze.
Yeah. Zal's like about to sneeze, and suddenly the sneeze seems very grim. He just stifles it.
The final sneeze.
What's your favorite kind of music?
Well, I do like a nice stringed instrument. We don't get many of those up here in the woods.
It's handy for you that I've committed to one such instrument.
As always, I look forward to your performance.
Yeah, Zal will play music each night during our little foray.
Lovely.
Yeah, wonderful. The tribe certainly welcomes the music, and you learn a little bit about their music and dance as well. Since a lot of their histories are stories, many of them are accompanied by song and dance to further intensify or give life to the story itself.
And I
It's
mean,
perfect.
I imagine a lot of the music, it's very drum and like um, uh, sort of uh, wood carved pipe heavy. There's a lot of that vibe going on.
Yeah,
a lot of that
I've
fun.
ditched my wood carved instrument at the perfect time to try to incorporate violin into this.
Yep. Yep. Excellent. Time very well spent in these vast lands and vast forests. Um, I like to touch on your time in Karakara, as that is part of the world update, is to give information on what's happening there. Um, though the journey to Karakara and the surrounding lands, it's uh, although it's not your land as you make your way, you find your path fairly easily because it's still her land and you are moving about it. As you make your way to Karakara, the first thing that you notice long before the city and the monolith itself is the light. Visible at night from 30, 40 miles away, like an amber sunset in the sky streaked with amethyst. Surprisingly, you actually thought that the effect would have been more pronounced as the monolith rises above the city, but the city of Karakara is nestled within a valley surrounded by rolling hills. It's what's been protecting it for such a long time, and it's backed up against Lake Vecnock as well. So it has all these natural protections built in, and the tall hills are keeping the light fairly contained. But as you move closer still, you eventually see the little great crystal monolith peeking over those hills. Its immutable amber form ever glowing. You make your way further along, and you eventually crest the final hill. And you can see the city in its entirety and the grand devastation. Much has been made about the destruction of Karakara, but as you look down upon it, only about a sixth of the city itself has actually fallen into that chasm. But the remainder of the city, the majority of it, was damaged in the resulting upheaval. A large chasm, 5 miles wide in diameter, sits along that far edge of the city, the monolith dominating the landscape. The lake no longer drains into this chasm, as through the work of the Bashan militia, as well as various arcanists and naturalists, during the quarantine time, the portion of the lake that had broken and flowed in and drained literally the river leading up here and lowered it to make even river trade barely feasible. The lake is filled as the rivers running by Bastion have long since risen as well. Karakara may be broken, but Karakara is not dead. For those that call Karakara home, they will never leave this place. And there are those that remain simply because they have nowhere else to go. And others, well, for others, there's coin to be made. The remaining folks that stay here in Karakara, they live on the outskirts of the city nearest the lake. That seems to be the most intact sections of town, the most buildings that remain standing. Also the safest. What started as a small barricade of rock and scrap and stone eventually became a full-fledged wall protecting the survivors on the outside of the city from whatever roams within. For the city of Karakara is far from empty. There are things that lumber and things that slumber and even a color that kills. All of which are to be avoided if you want to make it out alive. You find that a new scavenging industry has developed for those crazy enough to climb that wall. Casually, they refer to themselves as monolith runners or just runners. They go as deep as they can, grabbing anything valuable and returning before the sun sets. Sometimes it's booze and clothes, sometimes tools and dark fabrics. The darker the better. But sometimes, if they're lucky, they find ciphers. But the things that roam in the city are not the only perils. You find the runners talk of hot zones. A hot zone is an area of space-time where reality is being warped. Being caught in a hot zone carries risk of mutation. You find a few runners have already experienced this effect, and while for most it's beneficial, if not benign, others it's a curse. They say hot zones can appear anywhere beyond the wall, their appearance and duration unpredictable. The current theory among those that care for such things is that the frequency increases the closer you get to the monolith, but no one's ever gone that far. Or at least no one's ever gone that far and come back. As for the effect of the monolith on the nature surrounding it.
Mm.
The geographic locale of Karakara, surrounded by these hills, has actually localized much of the effects of the monolith. Obviously, the monolith has had an effect on the entire continent and likely the entire world. But here, there are no warped plants, no warped creatures. The wild is as wild as it ever is. It seems whatever malicious effects, if you can call it, of the monolith seem to be quite localized. You also find the reason why dark fabric is valued. During the nighttime, the monolith is like another sun. And so everyone covers windows and openings so they can try to get some amount of sleep. But the city is always in the light now. Do you climb the wall?
Um, sort of. I mean, I don't climb the wall. I think I take the form of an owl and just fly over the wall and fly around. I've got 4 hours at a shot to do that.
Okay. How deep do you go?
Um, I would say have I have great confidence in my uh observation skills, and so I think I would go relatively deep, but always on the lookout for anything that I might think is an anomaly that might indicate one of these hot zones to me.
Okay.
And I certainly don't want to tempt that particular fate. And so will do my best to avoid those if I see anything out of the ordinary. And if I see too much out of the ordinary where I can't press on any further and still feel, confident that I can miss these things, that's when I'll turn around and head back.
Um, the thing about the hot zones,
Hmm.
you cannot predict them. You cannot look for them to be wary of will I be caught in one or not. You can
Hmm.
eventually you could it is possible to notice
Hmm.
them, but to avoid them entirely is the
Well,
deeper you go, the more
if that's the
difficult.
case, then what I would do is count on my observation skills, assuming that I can do this, right? To um, keep a lookout for when I have flown into one, right? Since if I can't, keep an eye out for where they might be to avoid them, right? And I'll only know it when I'm in one, right? Well, as soon as I'm in one, I'm going to want to get out of it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so, as soon as I observe anything that would tip me off to that fact, that's when I'll turn around and head out. But
yeah.
um,
No, you'll know you're in it.
okay.
That's for certain. You will know that you are in one. Um,
Well, I mean, hopefully, I won't know that feeling, right? But I guess we will find out.
okay. Uh, you have stated you have gone over the wall. The
Mhm.
hot zones, as you will discover, are not kept to the ground.
Mhm.
They are in a surrounding bubble around
Mhm.
the area. You've stated you've been in there for at least a few hours. It kind of sounds like you. It doesn't sound like you do this just once, from what you're like, from how you've been talking about it.
Well, I mean, it all depends, right? Like, um, if I go in and the first time I run into a hot zone and there are negative side effects to it, I'm not going to continue to push my luck.
Mhm.
I think I'll go in maybe a couple times, right? To scope out what's going on, right? And to scope out what I'm sure I've heard stories about what particularly these runners, right, um are scared of and what this wall is here to protect the settlement from, right, that is in the city. I'd like to get, some eyes on whatever those various things are. But I can't imagine taking more than 2 or 3 trips total, and it'll be less if I have negative effects from one of these hot zones.
Okay. Decide the number, 2 or 3.
All right. Well, we'll say 3, I guess.
Okay. 3 forays into. Um, roll me 3 D100s.
Mhm.
Yo, 260s in there. Okay. Okay. On one of the trips, let's say it's the 14 is
Mhm.
is under the threshold. Um, uh, we'll say that's your last trip for that.
Mhm.
You do find yourself caught in one of these hot zones. The air begins to taste and smell strange. Your
Mhm.
skin begins tingling, and you can see it's like like a heat mirage, right? On a
Mhm.
hot day, the air around you seems to move in that way. Um, can you make a Constitution saving throw? And if you're a bird, you make the birds. You make yours.
I think I make the birds actually.
You're the druid.
Yeah, let's cuz I keep my int, wisdom and charisma.
It's the body.
Yeah. Um,
Okay. It's a
me
DC 15 con save.
okay. I will use that inspiration. Try that one more time, although not great odds for it.
Mm.
Well, I'll use one more inspiration because I'd rather not.
Like you
There we
got
go.
one whole bird body to burn.
Right. There we
Okay.
go.
Okay.
What the 1 into a 20.
Well,
Oh.
yeah,
Oh.
okay. Uh, you are able to weather the hot zone and make it through out to clearer and safer skies. You feel nauseated for the next hour, and not that it will matter, but you will have disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks for that hour. But after that time, it passes. No ill effects. And
What,
what you
if anything,
see,
additional did I learn on those flights about what creatures or entities or what's going on in there?
you see various lumbering shapes of flesh. Some are flesh and metal. You see shadows that move in the light. You see what looks to be people. In your forays, short as they were, there's people living in the city. And that's confirmed when you ask about it outside, that there's some people, for whatever reason, they stay in that destroyed area. In terms of any more specific details, I mean, you see and are confirmed with other sightings people have made, right? Of there some of these flesh creatures seem to be like an amalgamation of bodies that are just walking, like it is bodies that are moving around, right? Not a singular form. Um, sorry, I should say like not one person, but many bodies moving together. There are various kinds of constructs moving about. Um, Honestly, the only way to know even more about them would actually be just like down on the ground interacting with those things. But everyone tells you you just avoid everything while you're in there. You don't want to know. You don't want to go near any of it. Um, you do find that you do see like other birds flying around occasionally. Um, you see some of them also carry mutations occasionally, having been caught in these hot zones. The mutations vary wildly. Sometimes it's scales. Sometimes people's vision is increased. Their skin becomes dense and hardy. They can move faster. They can know things that they normally wouldn't know about. Um, and for others, there's tentacles growing out of them. Some have tentacles, like their eyes have been replaced by tentacles. So not all of it is super great. Um, there's a strange form of bird though, in terms of like wildlife being affected. These white kind of albino looking birds that tend to fly around the monolith. You don't really see them going other places around. You occasionally see them like roosting on a building top, but they just love flying and being close to that structure. And you find that as if you get like the closer you get to the monolith, the more like uh, the more your head seems to like resonate with its pulses. It's not a pleasurable experience. And that's about what you learn from the
Alright.
city itself and what's kind of going on over there. In your search for things that are affecting the surrounding areas, something that doesn't happen to you so often happens is as you're walking these hills, you get lost sometimes.
Mm.
And it's not very long. You know your way around places and you can reorientate yourself quite quickly, but you occasionally look around and don't know how you got to a place. Sometimes you hear voices, and you could swear that you've seen your son running around these hills. Sometimes you hear your wife's voice calling your name. There's also fog that occasionally fills up the surrounding hills. And one day in your travels, as you're heading back to your camp or to the city, you get caught up in this fog. You get a little turned around. But you see a light in the distance, torchlight. As you make your way close, it's not the outskirts of the city. You find yourself looking at a large tree with what looks to be like a home carved out in the bottom of it. Not just like carved out, but like built into the tree. Like the tree has grown into a small home in the base of it. The air smells different here. It feels different here. Like, it feels wild. untamed. You see the doors open.
I will knock on the door or the door jam as the door is open, and as I do, poke my head in. Hello?
You see kind of a like maybe she's in her 40s or so
Mhm.
woman at a little wood burning stove. She turns to you and smiles, and she has just very mundane looking clothing, the kind that you'd see like a peasant kind of wearing. Just simple clothes, simple dress. Variety of herbs set about everywhere. And you can smell the fresh growth in the garden outside. She looks at you and smiles and says, "Well, it's about time you showed up. I've been waiting for you. Tea?"
Tea would be lovely, but I am confused. You've been waiting?
Of course.
Have we met?
We have now.
Excellent point. I am Durham Lapis. Who might you be?
I've had a lot of names over the years. Currently, I like Nardwal.
Hmm.
You see, she puts some herbs in a cup, pours tea for her and you, gestures for a seat at the table.
Yeah, I'll sit.
Yeah, she serves you tea, sits down, and takes a sip of it. It's hot. But I made it fresh. I grow these herbs myself.
It's lovely.
So, Durham, what brings you to my hills?
Well, I came to the coast to learn more about Karakara and the monolith. Having concluded that specific investigation, thought I would branch out and see if the monolith had effects geography of a wider area. Seems it has not. However, these hills are interesting.
Hmm.
It has been a very long time since I experienced not knowing exactly where I am.
When you mentioned the monolith and its effect on things, uh, with your very high passive perception, uh, you don't see the glow of the monolith here. And as your eyes creep, like you kind of just look around and you look out one of the windows,
Hmm.
the light of the monolith is not shining.
Well, that is something.
It's a little too bright for my tastes, so I find keeping it at bay is more pleasurable.
Hmm.
Helps me sleep at night. But
That
these
is-
hills, many have underestimated them. It's so easy to get lost.
And How long have you lived here?
Mm, a long time. Long time. Long before this whole monolith business. Longer than your three sisters.
Hmm. Really? Longer than the sisters themselves? I find that hard to believe.
Good. You shouldn't believe it. It's an embellishment, of course, but I suffice it to say I have been here for quite a while. I've seen that city grow into what it is, and then fall into ruin, but it seems to be growing once more into something new.
Yes, I was surprised at just the amount of life that exists there. I had been led to believe it was a wasteland. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Hmm.
There are these strange birds I have not seen before that circle the monolith. They appear to enjoy its warmth or its thrum or its light, or perhaps some combination of the three. Are you aware of the birds of which I speak?
I am. They're like parasites now,
Hmm.
feasting on the energies that the monolith exudes.
It has become mother, and they suck at its teat.
Hmm. Very interesting way of putting it.
Has the change in Karakara affected you in any way?
Oh, I make do just fine. There's always people getting lost in these hills, and I'm here to help them.
Hmm. Does that mean I am lost and in need of your help?
That depends. Are you in need of help? Is there anything you desire for? You want?
I would like to know how I can be of help to the people of Karakara. It seems they have a very difficult existence.
It is hard for them, but such is their choice.
True, it is their choice. That does not mean they don't deserve our kindness.
Hmm. You can help them in any way you see fit. You seem a very kind person, Durham.
Thank you, Nardwall. Is there anything you need assistance with? I am quite capable.
I'm sure you are. Nothing I think that would interest you. Though, no. I don't think you would be a good fit for it. You see, she turns her she turns from the table to um, reach for some of the herbs nearby,
Mhm.
and as she does, uh, you with your very high perception, uh, you see this shimmer at the edge of her face, and in this shimmer, you see where her smile ends. It beneath it, another smile exists that is much larger
Mhm.
and like impossibly stretching to the corners of the face. You see her eye, she's not looking at you in this moment, and then her one eye, her left eye, spins quickly, catches you looking,
Mm.
catches you seeing. I think it may be time for you to leave, Durham. It's almost time for supper.
I stand up. Say, what is on the menu?
A succulent dish. One I don't think you're quite accustomed to.
Oh, now I'm intrigued, and I must say, in recent months, my palate has been greatly expanded. For you see, I know an exceptional chef.
uh, she stands up to meet your height, and you can see that kind of mirage flicker again for a moment. And as her hands are placed on the top of the table, you hear a little scratch, and you can see from her manicured, not manicured, but small nails. There are scratch marks very slowly, like the wood is breaking slightly underneath her fingertips. And in that mirage, as it flashes, you get the sensation that it's like an animal that has like a camouflage that is flashing it at you like a warning, right?
Mhm.
Um, you um, you see for just a split moment a sight that stays with you for a long time. You see this underneath the veneer of the
Mhm.
female appear
God.
for a moment.
Ugh.
Lightning fast.
Mhm.
Ew.
I guess your hospitality has come to an end.
Be careful in my hills, Durham.
Thank you.
Hopefully, we won't meet again.
Thank you for the advice and the tea. It was delicious. I will turn and leave.
Okay. As you exit the carved hovel, making your way away from the light, back into the fog. As you turn, you can see the fog just kind of swirling over the scene that you've just been a part of, that you've walked into. And as the taste of the world you know comes back to you, there's just the subtle, soft echo of laughter from a mouth that's far too large. And you find yourself shortly after back on the path to your camp or the city.
Yeah, Durham will do whatever he can to make whatever mental and eventually actual notes about that experience so that he can share it with everyone else, as it is certainly unusual and was, I mean, pretty blatantly threatening. um, but you know, after making those notes, we'll just sort of let it pass until he sees everyone. Adam, on the other hand, wants to murder that monstrosity. Like, what a nightmare.
A true nightmare.
Right. And like, as far as I'm concerned, like the menu, like they're definitely eating a person. Like Durham just walked out, and like there's definitely probably a young person that is going to be consumed for dinner, which I'm not super happy about. But um, yeah, I guess I imagine Durham probably spends 6 to 8 weeks around Karakara talking with people. Will probably at some point, let me just make sure I've got this right. Uh, right, I'll probably after talking with people that live in the area,
Mhm.
if they deem it as something that would be helpful, I will cast the 8-hour version of plant growth, which let's do to populate it, which basically creates like in a half-mile radius, the plants become enriched and yield a shit ton more food.
Yo, yeah, that's huge.
Yeah,
That's
right.
that's monumental. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
they
sort of
like
figured.
yeah, they grow a lot of food. There's actually a lot
Mhm.
of fishing here too, right? Like the
Okay.
fish in the lake are still edible.
Yeah.
Um and yeah, but there's there's not they don't have like the farming industry that like the other
Right.
cities do.
And so like
Um
part of my conversation with people is going to be like, okay, once it's determined that yeah, this would definitely be a good thing, it's like, okay, let's choose the right spot so you get the most yield and I'm not interrupting anything, and working with whatever infrastructure they have, right, to try and pick a good spot and make it workable for everybody.
oh yeah, this is an enormous boon to this community here. The community is small, so like
Mhm.
they don't really have food troubles because there's just not a lot of people there
Mhm.
as it is. But this, like the quality of their life
Mhm.
has greatly improved due to your plant growth. That's amazing. That is absolutely incredible stuff there. Do you tell about your experience to anybody in the city?
Um, in which city?
In Karakar, like, do you like ask anybody or do you tell anybody there about the
Oh,
experience you had with a woman?
do I talk to anybody about what I saw when I flew over the wall? Is that what you're
Uh,
asking?
no, when you saw like encounter the woman in the fog, right in the hills. Like,
Oh,
do you keep that to yourself or do you talk to anybody there about it?
I would probably be vague about it, trying to see if anyone else has encountered this individual or has even heard stories about them before I start telling my own. Like I don't I it, if it's just something that I've experienced, I'd rather keep it close to the vest. It seems like these people have more than enough problems um as it is. And if no one else has heard of it, right, it sort of ratchets it up in Durham's mind as something that probably needs to be handled. Like if he runs into other people that have similar stories or have encountered this individual, he'll be like, okay, well, they're like, I still need it on my radar screen, but like there's some detente or there's like clearly like people know this is happening, right, and aren't like losing their shit over it, so I shouldn't either. But if no one's heard of it, yeah, Durham will just clock it and be like, okay, this needs to be addressed sooner rather than later.
Yeah. You find people do know of what you're talking about.
Oh, great. Yeah, then
Yeah.
then I'll converse with those people and whomever they want to include in the conversation.
Yeah. There is uh, there's a local legend of a creature that lives in the hills. It's told as like a bedtime scary story, right? Be good, or soil rattle the wretched will get you in the night.
Can I get another take? Soil rattle the wretched?
Soil rattle the wretched.
Soil rattle. Oh, God.
I've actually had her on my hit list now for what, probably a year.
Yeah, it is a local legend of Karakara, this entity. Um, Having confirmation that like it's a potentially a real thing, people are uneased, but the general rule is like, look, you don't go into the crooked hills.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like, look, anybody who's trying to cut time and taking the risk there, like, some people risk it and it's fine. Other people risk it and they are never heard from again. But you could just go out into the forest and never be heard from again, right? So the fact that people go missing is not exactly notable.
Right.
It is just added to the thing of like, well, look, as long as we don't go out there, then we're probably fine.
Okay.
But you are aware of their existence now, and they are aware of yours. Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Anything else for Durham?
I believe that is it.
Okay. I know, Rainier, you had ended last session talking about trying to do research on finding a solar. Is that something you still intended to do, or does someone else want to do that, or do you all not want to do that as part of your downtime?
I think that would be, I think it'd be lower priority than helping like the physical problems that like the population is facing, but it would be something that he would, I feel like, have time for. But that would be like an academic sort of research, if that makes sense, and then putting out questions, bumping into people on the road, and trying to pick up rumors, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean it's research downtime, right? It's just
Mhm.
that's exactly what it is for it. Um, do you feel like you're the one to do that?
It feels appropriate.
Okay, cool.
Mm.
Am I wrong?
I only ask
Ragnarok
because
on religion. It might be him too.
That's true. That might be something you and I work on in the weird overlap that you of stuff you and I are doing.
yeah,
True.
cool. Yeah. I just mentioned it because you had mentioned it previously. Research downtime is actually pretty pretty short. It turns out. Okay. It takes at least one work week to do this. And then you can make it's an intelligence check, so just flat int, but you get a +1 bonus for after every 50 gold spent. Oh, but it costs 50 gold on like materials and stuff like that to do the research. So there's a flat 50, and 10 flat 50 10 days. When you make the intelligence check, you can gain a +1 bonus for every 50 gold you spend beyond the initial to a maximum of +6.
Okay. I could put 200 gold to this, I think.
Okay, so that'd be +4.
Mm,
Uh,
Okay.
Ragnarok, if you wanted to contribute to the bonus, I would allow that for that as well.
Yeah, it's just 100 more, right?
It'd be 100 more for the maximum, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh man, I'll get rid of 10 platinum pieces. My gold is currently at 666, and I don't want to change that.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
I was at 69 or 690 platinum a second ago, but that's fine.
Okay, who wants to do the intelligence check? You'll have a +6 to this.
I think we have the
In
same.
yeah, in addition to whatever
Yeah,
you're.
my score is a 15.
My score is a 14, so it doesn't matter.
You said
You
intelligence.
roll better dice.
Oh, that's true. Watch me suck this.
Yeah, just because I said it.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey. So
Okay,
23.
huge. Very good. Okay.
Come on, new religion. Thanks, dear.
Okay. You, after many days of reading through dozens of dusty tomes and scrolls and speaking to scholars and priests, you find that you're no closer to an answer than when you first started, but the hunt for this information is far from over, and there's still leads and rumors that need tracking down, and the two of you are very good at tracking things down. One of these rumors takes the two of you, at one point, the two of you head all the way down to Saltstone Landing. You find in a small, unassuming bookshop in a mostly industrial harbor town, you find a interesting tome.
Ooh.
In this book, it tells the legend of a people in the heart of Kumar, which is the desert country to the south. Now, these people had a strong desire to control and to conquer everyone around them. In order to achieve this goal, they needed power, and the simplest, most pragmatic method to power bound them, and it was worshiping these dark elder entities. It was simply the fastest way to achieve their goal. And as this new power fills their hearts, they begin to shed their humanity and begin putting every settlement around them to both sword and yoke. And built on the back of slaves, a new empire was born. And their reign over the Azahara was glorious. And it seemed like it would last forever. And that is until they ran afoul of another great city, the city of Ajaib. And it is there that they earned the ire of the Platinum Paladins. Conflict between these two nation states was inevitable, and a years-long war ravaged this land, and in the end of it, the empire lay crumbled and defeated, the survivors of which are sent scattering deep into the heart of the shifting seas. And the final pages of this book contain a collection of various folk tales and fantastical legends related to the Empire, most of which don't contain anything beneficial to your search, but one entry, the shortest of all, catches your attention. It's the account of a slave who escaped a temple deep in the Golden Ocean. One day, while working in a grand temple, the slave came across a room containing something very strange and out of place. It was a stone depiction of a grand celestial being. The great wings extending outward, the large humanoid form. Now, this is very wrong to be here, considering the only statues here were dedicated to Dendar, the night serpent. Eventually, over time, the slave learns the statue is the real body of a Solar, who's being kept in a state of perpetual petrification by the Gorgon's gaze. This is described as a trio of magical artifacts imbued with the power of a Medusa. Before the slave is able to learn more, they seize their opportunity to escape across the desert. Throughout this book, there are artistic interpretations of events and locations and different drawings. And at the end of this story, there's a drawing of what the statue might look like. And you also see a artist's rendition of the slave's ownership symbol. And it shows three snakes, each chasing each other's tails, their bodies twisted and intertwined to form the shape of a triangle. And that's the information you find. The name of the book, it's called Sand and Serpents. And the people named within that ruled this great empire, they called themselves the Yuan Ti.
How far is the like is the how far in the world away is are these lands? Do we have any reckoning?
Um, Adari doesn't have any maps of Kumar.
Hmm.
There's only been recent interaction with the city of Ajaib, whose boats come into the Saltstone Landing Harbor, and who this is where the Platinum Paladins that are searching for Laylas.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
They come from that section of the world and have arrived on a boat in Saltstone Landing long ago. It is quite far by boat. It's quite far by boat. It is said that if you pass through the Barrens, if you pass through the Barrens across the narrow land bridge, if you make it to the other side, it's said that you will then come across what's called the Azahara, which means the Great Gift, which is the large, expansive desert. So it is possible to get to that region both by sea and also by land. But as a general answer, the people of Adari don't really know much about anything going on down there.
Mhm.
So you would definitely be entering into very unknown territory. But as far
Okay.
as you can tell from your research, there's never been sightings of a solar in Adari. This seems to be the only one that, I mean, a solar is a extremely rare creature to come across. They are. It is not normal for them to be on this plane of existence. Um, so as far as you can tell, this is the only known. Like, it's a story, but it's the only known sighting of one.
Okay, I want to make sure I've organized this correctly. The Yuan-Ti people worshipped dark forces, potentially the Dendar, the Night Serpent.
Mm-hmm.
As they expanded their empire, enslaved people, they came to the front of the Ashahib clans, peoples, the Platinum Paladins. Paladins broke the empire, um, scattered those people, and the story that we have found of the particular Solar is of a slave who has escaped from the Yuan-Ti Empire. Is that correct?
Yes, that is a succinct, summary of it. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
and obviously
Cool.
these are like very old tellings, right? Like
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
this lore is
Legends at best.
yeah, this war is long past.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But theoretically, something we could talk to the Platinum Paladins about if we were to encounter them again.
Correct. Yeah. Um, yeah. Any way you want to further pursue the information.
Cool. Okay. Um, as soon as that information is like something we learn, that would be like information I think Rainier would try to deliver to the rest of the party. Um, as potentially a kind of like end cap of like this is the theoretic theoretical solution to the problem, but that pursuing this is pursuing the remnants of a rumor, but might not be a bad thing to do if we were ever, I suppose, in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Or if we had other means of, um, you know, solidifying this information as fact or not.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Excellent. Uh. Okay. Zol,
Mm-hmm.
where do you keep your metal box?
Uh, probably in my like pack.
Okay. You find roughly about like maybe 5 months into this year, as you're reaching for something in your pack, your hand comes out covered in like a flaky dust. As you
Mhm.
brush it away, it's like a flecks of metal. And
Mhm.
a lot of your other belongings have the same kind of flaky covering on them. This is your main pack?
Uh, yeah, probably. I think
Yeah.
in that pack there's like a separate pack that has all of his like journals and stuff.
Okay.
But in his main like backpack.
Okay. uh, you also notice like a kind of a foul stink and a bit of ration remains that have been kept in there have rotted. You also
Yeah.
see that it looks like there's rope in your bag and your rope is frayed and broken.
I'll lay some of the stuff out and just start like prestidigitating some of the like stuff that's directly soiled.
Yeah. You find as you're pulling everything out and making some repairs, you find the source of what's causing this, and it's the metal box. And the metal box is breaking. You can see something in it. You are carrying the book, and the book is breaking its container slowly.
Well, at that point, luckily I'm in Maras. Well, I guess yeah, I'd be in Maras, so I'd be going to Ember.
Ted, you're muted, but are you there?
Yep.
Okay. You see the problem. This container that you've created is just being oxidized, broken down, crumbling.
I just need to double check something because Zal was not the role.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I rolled, and then I sent you the.
Did I read the roll wrong? I did read the roll wrong.
Send it.
I mean, it doesn't matter at this point. I just didn't know if you were doing something. That's why I wanted to double check. I wasn't sure if there was something
Nope,
else.
It was
don't
going on.
Durham.
it.
Nope. I just looked at it and was like, "Yep, that's a shape." That's a shape.
Durham
Okay.
swapping around.
Who's
So
I got grossed.
yeah,
It's
do we
fine.
want to leave it as Zal?
Yeah, it's
or...
fine. That's
Okay,
fine.
Okay.
Okay, who was it though?
I randomly rolled Ragnarok.
I knew it.
I'm sorry, Doug. I could have fucked with you instead.
Yeah, I present it to Ember. Like, this does not seem good.
Yeah, that I guess had a lifespan. I can make a new one, see if it'll hold.
You make a new container.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. You make a new container. The book goes in. Everything's fine.
Well, now I know what the lifespan of these is.
As the year comes to an end, you find that the container once again is starting to crumble.
Yeah, we're gonna have to move fast.
Okay. Just so you are aware that the book wants out. Okay. The last bit of information here of our downtime, possibly the largest change to the world. This is what is happening with the Atropus. Over the course of the year, the stain in the sky becomes closer and closer and closer until by the end of the year, it's a second moon. And as the moon and it come into proximity to each other, it begins to eclipse the moon. Slowly. But at the end of the year, in this month of Flame Roll, in the year 239, not 238, there will be an eclipse of the moon by the end of this month. This thing in the sky that everyone sees just slowly coming for such a long time, it doesn't have a big effect on people because it's so slow and has been. But as time moves on, there's an unease about what is happening. There's a lot of talk among the arcane scholars of Maras and Bastion about what to do, what it is. There's a lot of unknowns. The changes in the world start small, as these things always do. As the Atropus makes its approach, a small settlement on the outskirts of civilization that the paladins of Lathander should be protecting, but they can't be everywhere, goes quiet. Now, that's not unusual because as much as the world pushes the wild away, the wild pushes back. Such is the way of things. Villages and people go missing. And those that are living on the outskirts of civilization, they know the danger they are taking on. That's not every settlement this happens to, but it happens. And that is the cycle of life. Soon a village goes dark, and someone takes notice. The militia sends a small squad to check it out, and they never return. 2 weeks later, another squad is sent to investigate what happened, and they too go missing. 2 weeks after that, a larger search and rescue mission is launched. About 50 soldiers are sent to find out what is happening out there and where are the squadrons. They encounter a band of undead made of villagers and militia members alike. Surprised and caught off guard, only about 20 soldiers make it back. They don't know it yet. No one knows it yet. But this will mark the first skirmish in what history will later call the Plague War. In the subsequent weeks, the militias dispatched throughout the regions surrounding Bastion. Increased patrols are made on the old road between Bastion and Maras, and eventually leading to Karakara. Many weeks later, another random grouping of undead is encountered. This time, better prepared, the militia is able to dispatch them with only minor casualties. For the first few months, hardly anyone even knows this is happening. It's not happening all the time. And strange occurrences and creatures and some undead are not unknown entities in this world. But the Lawmaster keeps it under wraps, as it doesn't seem to be threatening everything. It's just a nuisance at this point. That is until the soldiers on the front lines are rotated back home, and then rumors begin to spread. Eventually, the Council of Bastion issues a travel warning, and then increases militia patrols and activity again. They begin actively recruiting paladins of Lathander and clerics of any religion into these patrols. Eventually, it's decided to let the people of Bastion know that there's a strange occurrence happening with undead activity. That it's under control, and the militia is doing its job. With the groupings being small and their appearances random, most do consider this just to be another nuisance to endure. It's more likely that their gardens will be overrun by aggressive weeds than to be attacked by a skeleton, and so the world just keeps moving onward. About 8 months into the year, a large horde appears that overwhelms a nearby patrol. A Pyrrhic victory is had, and concerns begin to rise. Burials begin to fall out of fashion, and cremation rites are on the rise. Soon, cemeteries and mausoleums become avoided locations, and some are locked completely. It'd be another 2 months before the undead appear. And through combined effort of militia patrols and the paladins, the threat is eliminated, but not without taking a small toll. At the end of the year, Through all the encounters, approximately 15 to 20% of militia forces have been killed, turned, or both. Now, the Brotherhood of the Glorious Sun continues to reinforce the militia, but they too are suffering losses. This occurrence is not restricted only to around Bastion. It is occurring elsewhere. But Maras is managing the threat as they've been able to bolster their Praetor numbers. Finlanora reports similar activity but much lower in number, and they have not requested aid. Karakara seems mostly immune to this threat. Maybe it's the monolith, or maybe again it's Karakara's natural barriers providing it protection. But the undead are on the rise. And for you all, who know more about this threat than some others, when this information starts to come to a head, you know exactly what's responsible for it. And it's right there for everyone to see, hovering up above. Okay. That brings us to current time. It is the 3rd of Flame Rule in the year 239. At the end of the year, would you all have come together back in Bastion, or are you still scattered?
I think, given the nature of what you'd said, that we all would have begun to hear inklings of, and then specifically what you had said, me and my protege would have heard. I think towards the end of the year, when things are becoming obviously the signs, I would initiate whatever would be required to get us all to meet.
Okay.
And whether that be in Maras to make it easier for Zal and Ember and Durham, or in Bastion just because that's central, that's whatever's fine. But that would happen for sure.
Okay. During this, the caravans are still running. You know, the roads are more guarded than they've ever been. Again, they can't be everywhere. It's an entire continent, but caravans still run, which means messages still go. Where would you guys like to begin next session? Do you want to start in Maras? Do you want to start in Bastion? Somewhere different?
I think my letters would say that it's time to open the vault. So I think we should go to Maras first, because that'll be a little bit closer, I think, maybe to the lookout.
Okay.
Unless we think going to Saltstone Landing and catching a boat would get us there faster.
Yeah, I mean, I think our best bet if we're going to the lookout is Saltstone Landing.
Cool.
Okay. The word is put out. The beacons of Gondor are lit. And you all find yourselves traveling down to Saltstone Landing. Okay. Is there anything anyone else wants to do as part of this downtime before we, end session?
No. I just realized I probably should have taken this like a token that I saw through the magic item list. It quite literally said, "Put it to a boat, make the boat fly." I was like, "Oh, I should have taken that. I should have taken that."
You guys do have a big bird token. That's for sure.
Yeah.
How much can the big bird carry?
I don't know.
Not
Doesn't
6 of us.
doesn't
The
it
big bird
doesn't
can carry
say?
one Snuffleupagus.
Well, okay. We can't all fit on it, right? But hot air balloon logic. We get in a gondola underneath it that it carries for us. We just rip the
Ooh.
top off a carriage and it carries that with no
Ooh.
wheels.
and falls asleep over the ocean.
Yeah.
Well, we wouldn't go ocean that way. We'd
Go
fly
long way.
around, which would be a coastal.
Wyverns Part 2.
Yeah, I think I know the token tells like what the rock does, how long it lasts, or how far it goes, that kind of thing. So, if you do want to consider that, whoever has the token, you can look it over and let everyone know, what's going on with it. Okay. Very, very cool things. You guys did some real neat things over your downtime. That was cool.
Rocks might be